All right, so I hooked you guys up with the top 5 best loadouts in Warzone 2 yesterday, and I want to hook you guys up with the top 5 best loadouts in Modern Warfare today. Now, some of you guys actually are still playing Modern Warfare 2, and that's fantastic considering we're getting a brand new update very soon. Hopefully, it's a massive overhaul. I really don't think it will be, but I know they're going to fix the movement for both Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2, and that could be incredible. It could actually be a massive game changer. So I'm going to give you guys some amazing class setups that will follow that. Even after updates, even after nerfs, these are going to be the best class setups to use. So we're going to start out with the M4. The M4 is so incredible, and honestly, I'm surprised people aren't even using this that much. They're using other weapons, and the number one weapon is probably going to be just as good as the M4 with slightly more recoil and way more damage. So the high tower 20-inch barrel is the first thing that we have on here, and this barrel is so useful. It increases the bullet velocity, damage range, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. Now, I increased the damage range by 0.21 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.31 pounds, and then I moved on to the Schlager Peck Box. The Schlager Peck Box increases the aim down sight speed with no con whatsoever. So it's not like the Koryo Laz that increases the aim down sight speed and aiming stability, and the reason is because this is laser visible in ADS. I didn't want the laser be visible in ADS, but if you don't mind, then feel free to use the Koryo Laz 44. It's completely up to you whichever one you want to use, just know that this has no cons whatsoever. Moving on, we have the Demo Precision Elite Factory. Now, this thing is insane. It helps with the aiming stability and recoil control, but the cons are multiple. It's not that bad, though, because we will be taking care of it. Now, the cons are aim down sight speed, crouch movement speed, aim walking speed, and sprint speed. I increased the aiming out stability by 1.08 inches, and I didn't change the weight. You put on the X10 grip, and this helps sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed at the cost of recoil control, but we already compensated for that. I increased the sprint to fire speed by negative 0.10 inches and increased the weight by 0.23 ounces to increase recoil steadiness. Last but not least, I put on the 45 round mag. If you don't want that, you can turn that off, just get rid of it. That way you have more movement speed, aim down sight speed, reload quickness, and sprint to fire speed. And then maybe just put on high velocity and you can just max those out. But the result is this. So here's the result in the firing range. This thing is so incredible. In fact, if they don't nerf this gun in competitive, it's gonna be a huge problem. In my opinion, this thing is just so insane. Like, look how fast it easily kills, and the fact that it has such little recoil is such a bonus. So please use this gun. You're gonna be melting enemies so easy, and in my opinion, it's easily belonging in the top 5 category. Number 4, we're moving on to the Lockman Sub. Now, this thing is so good, and it's honestly one of the more slept on weapons. It's basically the MP5, and this thing does damage. I'm talking, this thing melts so easily, and it's a very easy weapon to control with great movement on this build. So we start out with the ABR T20 comp for the muzzle, and this helps with horizontal and vertical recoil control. Now, it reduces aim down sight speed and aiming stability, and I increased the recoil stabilization by 0.23 ounces. I put on the F-Tac M Sub 12-inch. This helps the bullet velocity, damage range, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. I increased the damage range by 0.31 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.19 pounds. Put on the LM Stockless mod. This helps with the hip fire, aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control at the cost of aiming recoil control, aiming stability, and flinch resistance. We're going to take care of that, though. Put on the Lockman TCG10. This increases the recoil control, and I increased the sprint to fire speed by 0.17 inches on the negative side. I also increased the aim down sight speed by 0.03 ounces on the negative side, and I put on the 40 round mag. Now, you would think with this build right here, we would actually get quite a bit of recoil, but the beautiful thing about this is this has such little recoil. The one thing you have to remember is this thing still has amazing movement thanks to all the attachments I have on here, but look at this. This thing barely has recoil. I actually love it for the fact that this is very easy to control, and the only downside is you want to avoid the long range gunfights. So stick to the short range gunfights. You're going to be able to control the recoil very easily, and in my opinion, you're going to absolutely have a fantastic time. Like I said, the movement is beautiful. You're not going to have any issue. Get right into the fight, take out the enemy, and just keep it moving. That's how you do it with this gun, and it's a very great weapon to use. Definitely belonging in the top 5 category. So that was number 4, and we're going to move on to number 3, which is the Cast-Off 74U. In my opinion, this is definitely the best hybrid weapon. It's so incredible, so strong to use. And so we're going to start out with the Echoless 80 for the muzzle. This helps with sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. Now, I increased the bullet velocity by 0.52 inches and the recoil smoothness by 0.72 ounces. Not a big deal. Once again, I put on the Slager Peck box. If you want the Coriolis 44, it's completely up to you. Not a problem, whichever one you choose. You are going to get some more pros with the Coriolis, but it will be visible in ADS. This has no dot that's going to be visible in ADS, so this is beneficial overall with no cons. Then we're going to move on to the Oprizat stock. This helps with aim, walking speed, and sprint speed at the cost of aiming stability. I increased the aiming out stability of 0.08 inches. After that, I just didn't really feel a need to increase it anymore. Put on the MW2 grip. Helps with recoil control at the cost of aiming stability. I moved the width to negative 0.25 inches for sprint to fire speed, and I increased the recoil steadiness by 0.29 ounces. And I put on a 45 round mag and just show you guys how amazing this is in the firing range. Short range, absolutely incredible. Medium range is so good, and long range, if you're hitting your shots, absolutely incredible. The other beautiful thing is this thing actually has good movement, so when Rebirth comes out, you'll actually be able to do really good. So short range, medium range, long range, you're gonna be able to handle it, and it's an absolute tank of a weapon. So feel free to try this out, especially in multiplayer. Multiplayer is just a gem for this weapon. You melt people so easily, and you'll have a great time. Number 2, we're moving on to the mini Bach, and this weapon is incredible. Like in every map I played, this gun is so good. Now, I start out with the X10 RR40, and it increases the sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. Now, I increased the bullet velocity by 0.74 inches and the recoil smoothness by 0.50 ounces. I put on the Bach 9 279mm barrel. This helps the damage range, hip fire accuracy, and bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. I increased the damage range by 0.21 inches, and I maxed out the aim walking speed. Put on the Slager Peck box for aim down sight speed. If you don't mind the laser, put on the Coriolis, it gives you more benefits. Put on the FTAC Elite stock. This helps the recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed and crouch movement speed. I decreased the weight by 0.77 ounces on the negative side to increase aim down sight speed. And then I put on the True Tack grip. This helps sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed at the cost of recoil control. I decreased the width by negative 0.30 inches for sprint to fire speed, and decreased the weight by negative 0.74 ounces for the aim down sight speed. Now the product of this is absolutely beautiful. Short range, medium range, fantastic. Long range is the only thing you have to be careful because, as you see, it's not really super sustainable. But short to mid range, absolutely beautiful. Stick to that range and you'll do a great job. If you have to use the long range, it's just do burst fire, just because I think that everything else is not super sustainable. You blasting long range, you're just gonna miss a whole lot of shots. But the number one weapon, this number one weapon right here is, as the title says, it's the meta. Now, the TAC 56 is definitely the meta for Modern Warfare 2, and I think that this setup right here will help you guys out a whole lot. It has amazing mobility, amazing damage, and it definitely gets the job done. So we start out with the Harbinger D20 for the sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and aim walking speed. Now I increased the bullet velocity by 0.65 inches and the recoil smoothness by 0.77 ounces. I put on the 17.5 Tundra Pro barrel. This helps the damage range, hip fire accuracy, and bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. I increased the damage range by 0.30 inches and decreased the weight by negative 0.27 pounds for aim walking speed. I put on the TV Cardinal stock. This helps with aim walking speed and sprint speed at the cost of aiming stability. So I increased the aiming idle stability by 1.86 inches. I decreased the weight by negative 1.94 ounces for aim down sight speed. And then I put on the FSS Combat Grip for recoil control at the cost of aiming stability. I decreased the width by negative 0.20 inches for sprint to fire speed and increased the recoil steadiness by 0.71 ounces. Put on the 40 round mag. I chose not to use the 60 just because I didn't want this thing to be slow. But if you choose not to have anything, you can just go without it and you'll just have 30. And this thing is just absolutely incredible. What you guys don't understand is in multiplayer, you want to have something that has low recoil, but you want to have something you can actually move around with. As you guys see, this movement is actually really good. And you can actually strafe around very easily. So when you're fighting enemies, you're going to be strafing around. You're not going to have a hard time actually locking on either. Like I said, this is super easy to control, and I highly recommend using this weapon as the #1 weapon in Modern Warfare 2.